we are learning how to do pencil skirt. Pencil skirt is skirt that is slim, and most of the time pencil skirts are skirts that are tapered. We're just gonna do a straight skirt. Straight skirt means like the measurements from the low hip, the widest part, to the bottom is same. So let's do 20-inch long skirt, like, you know. Normally, skirt length, mini, is considered to be about 18-inch, 16 to 18. Then it's above knee length, that is 20 to 22, and below knee is called midi, right? Yeah, something like this, and the longer. Okay, so I start from rectangular boxes, and I drew rectangular, two rectangulars for you. You need the measurements. You need the measurements of the waist circumference, and you need high hip, but let's skip the high hip right now. We'll go back to the high hip, and you need the fullest hip measurements. And like I told you before, everyone has a little different position of the full hip. Full hip position is the circumference of the body that is the fullest, you know. Standard for Missy is about 8.5 in the industry, 8.5 from the natural waist. But we've seen people that has more, like some people that do have straight here and then there's a bump here. And this necessarily not the fullest position, but at the side it curves out more because that's below the butt, you know. And I'll teach you when we get to the tapered skirt how to manage this type of bodies, okay? So now let's start from the low hip position, and let's say, for example, for size 8, I gave you standard to be 38.5 to 39. Let's do round up, 39 low hip. So we are making skirt for 39 low hip. Low hip is 39 at 8.5 below. I like to do like this, okay? Now waist. Skirt can be on the waist, can be below waist. It depends what kind of style you're doing. I am teaching you skirt that is on the natural waist. And the natural waist is, let's say, 29 for size 8. Size 8 is supposed to be 28.5 to 29. So we'll do 29 waist. Okay. So you remember how for the bodies I taught you that the front is supposed to be 1.5 inches wider than the back? For skirt is opposite. For skirt, because the butt takes more space than here, I do 1 inch difference. So if the front, let's do the mass calculation from the hip. So let's say 39 divide by 4. 39 divide 4 by 4 is 9.75. So if I want front to be 1 inch difference, 1 inch smaller than the back, then I'll take that 1 inch, divide by 4. That's a quarter. So front, because this is a quarter of the garment, right? This is a quarter and quarter. That's what I drew, you know. So 9.75 minus a quarter is going to be 9.5. This will be front low hip. And the back low hip will be 9.75 plus quarter will be 10. So let's do the reverse math, right? The back 20 and the front 18. So what is it, 19, right?
Yeah.
19 is 39. Perfect, just in case, you know. So let's start with the front. Okay, so front have no seam in the front. So this is means no seam. This is on the fold, okay? So this is 9.5. I like to start from the low hip level. Low hip level. And if my low hip level is 8.5 below, you just on your square, you just mark that 8.5 below approximately, okay? Now we're gonna build it up from here. So now this is my 8.5 and mark it. Regarding the allowances, guys, okay, so if the fabric has tiny bit like 2% stretch or 5% stretch, you can make same as your low hip, or you can even make less, because everybody likes the skinny tight pencil skirts, you know. Or if you feel like fabric is very rigid, then you can give extra. So it's all about you determine your measurements. Yes, we started 39, but we could have done 40 for 39 low hip. You know, you make your assessment. It's not as important as for the sloper to make this 1 inch wider. You can actually get away with having the same measurements if the fabric have no shrinkage, because women mostly like this slim skirts, okay? But you decide what measurements you wanna do. So now, my skirts have 1 dart in the front and 2 and 2 darts in the back. And the reason I like 1 dart in the front is because I wanna have a dress form here. We also have to understand body shapes. Well, if we don't have as much curve from here into the waist. No one had. So that's why this Armstrong book, never follow it. It has 2 darts in the front and never works. And what it creates, only like a bump that we don't need it. So let's say from here, look at this shape, right? So it's a very small little shape. And if somebody have a stomach, you know, lots of women, we have stomachs. She doesn't have a stomach in and out right below. She has a stomach right here. So that dart has to be very little, you know. And I make the dart depth in the skirts only 3/4 unopen. So 3/8 on a double. Remember how I gave you dart depth here? See, the body has a lot more shape coming from bust to waist. And then when you come here, it's a lot less shape. And if I'm comparing this to this, a lot more in goes in, okay? And yes, if lady have a stomach, then does have a stomach right here. Okay. So now I'm gonna draw the dart. It's for standard. So dart is gonna be 3/4, like I told you. Now, where do we place this dart from the center front? So you take your total circumference of the desired waist measurement and you divide by 8. Let's see what we're gonna get. Total circumference, let's say for the waist is 29 and divide by 8 is 3 and 5/8. I like it. Let's do it this way, okay? Let's do 3 and 5/8 away. We're gonna make it 3/4 dart. And didn't I teach you class how the dart length to depth varies? So for 3/4 dart, 3.5 inch long dart would work.
3.5.
Yeah. Like, didn't I teach you that class? Didn't I tell you the dart length versus the? Okay, I'll email you. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so here is this 3.5. Because what we gotta be careful is not to be too pointy and not to be too small, or when it's too long, it's gonna be lots of stitching, you know, where you don't need it. So let's see, because we're gonna do the fitting later, let's see if 3.5 works, okay? So now we did this. Now I like least amount of curves in my skirts. Like curvier is hard to like becomes more biased and waving and stuff. So now just in an experiment, let's do 1/2 inch curve from here in here, like this. And we'll figure out the waist measurement later. So I did a 1/2 inch curve from here to here, okay? Now from here, so let's talk about this part, the curve. Remember how I taught you in the body sloper, how it's supposed to have a curve quarter down? I like for my skirts, curve up 1/4, okay? And the reason why is this, we are creating a sloper that person that doesn't have too much tummy. We can always learn the fitting and accommodating for certain type of bodies, but she always have a curve here. So you need more fabric for this bump, right? So we give that more curve from here to here, 1/4 up. Okay, so front is done. Ha ha. You know, oh, okay, is it clear? And the length is just whatever length we want. We're gonna do a straight square, no curve, square line. So front is done. And then when you shape your waist, I taught you how to, because once you learn one part of the pattern, you're gonna, lots of same things applies to different parts of the pattern. And once you learn how to make a pattern, you can make a pattern for an alien, you know, like it doesn't matter. Pattern making is just like once you learn the pattern making, you can make pattern for a dog or anybody, any shape. You're learning how to create the pattern for any shape, okay? So here we just learn how to, you know, close the dart and shape it, and we'll do it on the paper. I can show you on this. So front is done. Now let's do the back. My skirt is very, very simple. And once you know the skirt, the pants gonna become better, easier. Okay. So for back, we want 10. Okay. So 10 inches is the low hip. Now, for the bodies, I taught you the curve, center back curve, remember? Now for the skirt, I'll teach you the same thing, okay? For the skirt, let's take a look at the body shape, for women's body shape, right? So there's lots of angle from the butt to here. And we don't wanna give this angle from one place, you know, give this projection from one place. Like, that's why I like 2 darts, because I want to distribute and give shape from many different places. One is I give shape from center back. I don't do completely straight. I give an angle in the center back. And the next, I do with the darts. And a larger butt person have more shape you need. And the flat person needs less shape. We know that, okay? So for the center back, in the back, I give a quarter shape. And the quarter shape starts from the above high hip area. High hip is half of the low hip, like about 4 inch or 4 1/4, okay? So from here, you go in a quarter, like this, from the straight line. Now they place these 2 darts, boom and boom. I need to place 2 darts. Where do I place 2 darts? So back, first back dart, because it's 2, it cannot be like this. So it has to be closer because it's 2 darts. So the first dart, I'll place 3 5/8 minus half. So wherever I placed first dart in the front, I'll deduct half. So it will be about 3 1/8. Make sense? Like this. So first dart, I'll do 3/4 again. So I'll make the back darts double the front darts because we have double and even more shape in the back. So we do this 3/4 here. And then the space between that just enough so that they're not too close. And I will make 1.5 inch space between. So you do 1.5 inch to 1 3/8. And the second dart, I do 3/4 or 5/8, depends on the butt shape. Okay, so let's do 3/4 second dart. And then from here, let's experiment, do the, let's say, quarter curve, because you will see that when you have more darts and you close the darts, side seam curves more. So I like to give less curve at the side seam in the back than the front. But okay, but we'll see what measurements we get, and then we're gonna play with that shape later, okay? So we gave a quarter curve here. Now this curve have to match the front curve. So this goes up 1/4, right, to match the front curve. Now the level of this side seam and back, I like to do same, because we've got the hips, we've got the back, which have more body, and this have a curve, right? So if this level is 1/4, so the center back will be on the same level, okay? And then when I close these darts on the paper, I'll show you how you reshape it. You take your curve, hip curve ruler and reshape it. Now is the time to finalize the waist measurements. From here now, we need to move to the paper and do this thing on the paper and actually measure the waist measurements, and then we can take in more here, okay? We may get lucky. I had case when actually this worked, but we'll see what measurements we're gonna get, okay? And that's it. So down here is straight. Now I'll teach you, this needs to be done on the paper next. Now I'll teach you how do you do the pencil skirt, tapered skirt. I worked at Incline, and Incline skirts were really beautiful, tweed, very expensive fabrics. We made pencil skirts. And I used to just like, pencil skirts, I need to take in like this and like this, you know, like don't ever taper exactly from the low hip. Because like I told you, women are not like, we're not like go in and in like this, right? So even though we have the largest measurement here, it's, if I take the ruler from here to here, I'm straight and even out more, you know, that's natural, right? So like about 1.5 inch, you keep it straight here. Never go like a bump here, because some people do have bumps like this, and it's really hard to fit on this type of people because they have like a hollowness here. And then because some women I've seen wear all sorts of bodies like this, and this is where the thigh starts, and some people have not such a smooth shape, and this is really hard to do the pencil skirts on this type of people, unless they're wearing a rigid stretch fabric that can make it smaller, and then it's fine. Okay, so but in the industry, I like to make it straight from my low hip down about 1.25 to 1.5 inches, and then start tapering, okay? So you don't taper more than, if this skirt is 20 inch long, don't taper more than 3/4. It's gonna be funny looking. Of course, the longer skirt, you can taper more, but then you need a back vent or slit to be able to walk. You know, just for my design experiences, when I have a mini skirt, taper doesn't look cute. It looks straight, looks cute. You know, there's nowhere to taper, you know? So straight skirt, mini looks good, but then when it's longer, you can, it looks very old if it's not tapered. It doesn't look right. when the skirt, but it's beauty is in eyes of beholder, you know, whatever you guys want to do. Okay, that's it. One more. Okay. So this skirt, guys, is a skirt that is you can add a waistband, straight waistband if you want, but then you need to figure out the closure, overlapping closure for the waistband, or you can simply make it without the waistband, clean with the facing. So no waistband skirt. Or you take the skirt and sew it to your bodies and you make the dress out of this. Okay? So you pick what you want to do. I think next time for the class, we should just make with the facing clean. Just the skirt. Okay? Thank you. So now we created a dart in the front and we're closing the dart towards the center front. Like this. I can scotch tape or I can do the pin, but put the pin from in to out like this. And then I said this was the seam line, so I need to add about 3/8 to quarter seam allowances. So let's do 3/8. 3/8 is here and 3/8 front. That's all you need. And then you're gonna take this and use this one. Like it's at the front, make sure at about 1.5 inches is square. Don't go up right away. So this is a square. Like this, okay? So from here, you just use the nice and smooth shape to join the curve. See what I mean? Like this. And then don't open it, just cut while this is closed, and you'll see the dart is gonna have this little triangle. Okay, and now we can also measure same time. We're doing everything the same time. Okay, so let's measure this on the seam. So this, I have a 1/2 inch seam allowance. 1/2 inch doesn't count. So I'm just gonna walk the tape like this. Boom, 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 boom. So I get 7 3/4 in the front. Okay, and write it. So I can open this up now. Okay, and now I can do same thing to the back. So for the back, this was my center back. Remember, where was the center back? Always have to write. This is side, and this is a center back, okay? So center back is quarter high and quarter high here. So the side seam is supposed to match this. Why don't we match this one to the side seam first, and then we'll do a center back, okay? So if you remember, I said 1/2 inch curving to the side seam in the back. So I'm just gonna take this and curve the 1/2 inch. So this is my side seam. But before I cut it, I'm gonna copy the curve from the front because they have to be sewn together like this. See what I mean? So I'm gonna copy this curve from here to here exactly. So I can put a weight and cut them together because my seams have to match perfectly. And there's a chance I can make a mistake. And where's the low hip? Low hip is right here. Right here. It's not so perfect. So, or you can just trace this over and cut it. See what I mean? Like this and like this. And then you put a notch here to make sure, because this is a rotation point. Okay, so let me fix this. curves have to match to be able to sew easily. Okay, so let me double check. These are my notch. This is notch here, and I can cut this now. Okay, so now this one, this was the height, right? This and this, you can also, actually, let me do this way. Let's do this way, it's easier. So let's keep on going down and down and down like this. Trace, because now they have to be on a parallel gland below low hip. Otherwise, the side seam is not gonna hang correctly. See how this doesn't have to be exactly, but from here down, they have to be on a parallel grain. So this is the center back, this is the center front. They are parallel, okay? So let's copy this line. And copy this line like this, okay? I'll cut this. You can airdrop me right now, and I'll combine the recordings, Audrey.
Okay.
Okay, here. Now, here, from here to here in the center back, perpendicular. But if somebody have a large butt, right, you can do a quarter curving down in the back. We used to do mostly on the mini skirts, like American Eagle Outfitters, with the girls for her butt, because you kind of picks up, so you can do this. But now for me, we're just gonna do a straight, and we'll see when I do the fitting, okay? Here. Now, the reason I went this way, I wanted to show you this height. So this height and this height, this gonna be same level from the bottom up, okay? And now you can just mark this like this, okay? It's the same level. We ended up same, remember? Okay, so now I need to connect this one with this one. I can't just go straight. I need to close the darts and do the curved nice line, okay? So I'm gonna just cut this extra. Can anyone give me weight so that the fabric, okay, here, okay. So this one here, fold it towards the center back, like this. Let's scotch tape this. You know, I used to have removable scotch tape. You can also use removable scotch tape for pattern making.
When you say fold it towards the center back, you mean the back of the dart?
Yeah, fold is towards the center back, yeah. Like this and this. Here you go. Okay, here. And now I'm gonna take the same curve and same curve. Don't get confused with the seam lines and seam allowances and seam lines, see this? Okay, another thing is I need to tell you this. You gotta make sure you have a square from here to here, because this gets connected and this is your square. See this square?
And is that also like an inch?
Yeah, like 1.25 inches square, 1.25 inches square. Like this is a square. Otherwise it's gonna V once you join the seam lines. So now I can connect this square where this is supposed to be with this one. See how different shapes you're getting? Just a slightly different shapes. Here. So I can cut now. And measure the waist measurements. Okay, here. So what it did, guys, this is a bump. You can see on the paper.
Yeah.
This is a bump that created, and we can see this on the dress form too, the bump. So let's measure this. what did we get the measurements? So I am getting, I hope I didn't make mistakes, 7 1/4. So let's see, 7 3/4 was the front, 7 1/4 was the back, front. So that's 14. Oh my God, I'm genius. 30. That's what I wanted. Yay!